Good evening. From Johannesburg, I'm Constantinides. Welcome to Let's Have It Out. Tonight and every weeknight here on eNCA, a variety of people will get their chance to host this program. We'll give you, the viewer, a chance to get involved in the conversation. Unfiltered, accountable and accessible. Over the past 5 years, I've worked actively on the issue of the illegal occupation on Western Sahara and have engaged with the Sahrawi people in the refugee camps situated in southwest of Algeria, where they have been for more than 40 years. I've lived in these camps amongst these people and engaged with the Sahrawi freedom fighters around the world in their fight for self-determination, liberation and access to their basic human rights. The people of Western Sahara have been under illegal occupation since 1975. Forgotten by the world, the Sahrawi people fled during the armed conflict when the colonial power Spain left the territory and handed over administrative power to both Mauritania and Morocco, forcing the Sahrawi people to find refuge. The Sahrawi refugees fled at the time of conflict, and they have lived in a temporary refugee camp in southwest Algeria for more than 4 decades under inhospitable climatic and humanitarian conditions. In 1991, the UN called for a ceasefire, and MINURSO, the UN mission for the referendum in Western Sahara, was established with a mandate to organize a referendum within 6 months. 27 years later, the Sahrawi people still wait for the promised referendum, yet the process has been aggravated while Moroccan settlers have begun to colonize the territory, and the Sahrawi people continue to be victims of human rights abuses, including torture. Morocco was readmitted into the African Union without preconditions or terms. The newly admitted member should now be obliged to respect internationally recognized borders, thus recognizing the Western Sahara. The Western Sahara is the last colony in Africa, while the Sahrawi people's right to self-determination is recognized by the African Union, the United Nations and the International Court of Justice. There is no country in the world that recognizes Morocco's sovereignty over Western Sahara. Despite this, and despite reports of the exploitative plundering of natural resources and the infliction of grave human rights abuses, the urgency of the renewed efforts to overcome the current impasse have been expressed repeatedly. You can be a part of this conversation. Here's how.
Tweet us at eNCA using the hashtag LHIO. Call us on 011-759-6340 or send us a WhatsApp or WhatsApp video on 082-884-6370. And make sure those videos are no longer than 30 seconds, please.
I'm joined now in studio by Charge d'Affaires of Morocco, Mr. Abdelkader Naji. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to ask you, what do you feel is the role of Morocco and how do you see itself in terms of peacekeeping on the continent?
I think first of all we should talk about something else. We have met last Wednesday. We talked about the issue. And when we finished, you followed me to the car and apologized. Then you tweeted something which is not good about me, about my country, and about my colleagues. You said bad things about me. You threatened me not to be allowed to get to South African national TV, and you described my regime as evil, and
I live in a democratic country where I have the right to
but you have the right to criticize, not to insult.
Things.
You have incited me as an evil. And I think you have not the capacity to be here because you consider me as an enemy. You are not a human rights activist, I think, because you are specialized in targeting and attacking Morocco only. You don't talk about... Sorry.
I would like us to go into the questions because we're limited on
but this is very important. So we have time to answer you. Because you are targeting only Morocco and concentrated only on Morocco.
Yes.
Not on what is happening inside the refugees or the detainees camp. You know that in the camp there is slavery, black slavery.
There's no slavery.
No, there's
I've
slavery,
been in
black
these
slavery.
camps. I've lived in these
you
camps.
deny.
There's no slavery.
There is black slavery.
There's no slavery.
There is
and
sufferings of people because
the
of...
suffering is because of a humanitarian crisis. Let us talk about Morocco. Let us talk about the role
this first.
of Morocco.
We'll talk about this first.
Okay.
And in the camp, who is responsible? The camps are in Algeria.
Correct.
And they are detained. And before, I think, around 1975, they were kidnapped. Most of them kidnapped.
There was
no, you don't know the history. You do not think about this. You are not an activist. Sorry to tell you this. You are a lobbyist. You work with the Algerian embassy, the Algerian regime, and you are always attacking Morocco because to serve some agendas. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I need to just ask the question again. I just want to bring us back into line where we are. What role does Morocco see for itself in terms of peacekeeping on the continent of Africa?
I think we have been, we are the founders, father of the AU.
Why is it that you left the AU, which was the OAU at that time?
Yeah, there were some circumstances because a mistake done that time to recognize this militia separatists as a country, as a state. And you know that the state needs to have at least 4 features: population, territories, sovereignty, and government. And this state does have nothing, neither population, neither sovereignty, neither territory, and obviously no government. So it's not a state. So for the peacekeeping, we are member. We will be member for 2 years. We are always in Morocco contributing to the peacekeeping in Africa. Our soldiers are in DRC, are in Central Africa, and can be everywhere. Wherever there is something wrong, we can go to help, to save peace and security. We are engaged as Africans because we are African country. So we are engaged to do so.
Can I ask you then, what is it that almost 2 years after the African Union membership, Morocco has been readmitted, where do you see the resolution being reached with this conflict, an outstanding conflict of Western Sahara? In your own terms, how do you see this conflict or the situation? Could you, for us, in your capacity, explain to us the Western Saharan conflict?
Yeah, it's not the Western Sahara conflict. There is no Western Sahara, there is a Moroccan Sahara. The conflict is between 2 countries, Morocco and Algeria. There is no other country. The Sahrawi, the ones who are kidnapped, detained in the camps in Algeria, are the scapegoat. There is the excuse or pretext. But the problem resides in Algeria, in Algiers. And there is no solution without Algiers to solve the problem. We opened the door for those who can or could go back home. They are very, very welcomed. And many of them already came back. They are living and enjoying their food rights in a democratic society. So there is no problem for us. The Sahara is Moroccan. Morocco is in his Sahara, and Sahara is in his Moroccan. So there is no question about that. We have the solution, and we give it. There's a proposal of the local autonomy. We proposed since 2007, and this solution, this initiative, was considered to be serious, credible, and practical. So why we don't accept this?
I'm going to leave it there for a moment. We're going to continue the conversation after this break. Remember to use the hashtag LHIO on social media and join the conversation. Welcome back to Let's Have It Out. Let's take a caller now. We have Mohammed from Pretoria on the line. Hi, Mohammed. What is your question or your comment?
My comment is very simple, is that the Chargé d'Affaires of Morocco is busy attacking the host instead of attacking the problem. He is called there to discuss a colonization. His country who's colonizing another country. This is recognized by the AU, recognized by the country is in the United Nations, It's all over the world. There's so many countries who recognize that. I lived in the camps. Catherine lived in the camps. And he never been at the camps himself. And you know, the dictatorship in Morocco, the kingdom, has been recording the Arab conference and giving it to the Jewish, to the Israelis, and Hassan II, his ex-king, before this king who's right now. We lived with the Sahrawi. Catherine herself lived among the Sahrawi. There are people who are suffering. They colonized a people and they're killing them. There is no slavery. He is talking nonsense. He gives himself the freedom of attacking Catherine, who's Miss and she's known all over the world, and especially in South Africa. He's wasting his time. He must address a problem which has been addressed by United Nations, addressed by the African leaders,
Yes.
The African Parliament. They are represented in African.
Thank you so much. I think that's really very important points. Thank you for that. I'd like to just quickly continue from what your last points were. Welcoming Sahrawis back to Western Sahara.
Because he raised something very important.
Yes.
I should answer him. Yeah, please. The arrest, Republic Arab Sahrawi Democratic. So we analyze this word or this appellation. Republic. It's not a republic because it has nothing to do with republic. And Arab. It doesn't say the name is not Arab or African because ironically that there is no other country, no Arab country other than Algeria who recognize Rust as a state. The Arab League doesn't recognize this state. So if it is Arab and no Arab country recognizes this, so it is not a state. And in Africa, how many countries recognize the state? How many? No, just 16 countries. No, 16 countries.
There are no countries in the world that recognize the sovereignty of Morocco over Western Sahara.
I'd
like us to quickly just go. We have a comment that's come in. Well, let's just quickly hear from our viewers who want to be a part of this.
Me because it's very important to explain this.
If we could just move on a bit quickly because we do have a few things we have to get through to.
Okay. So you said something that the Western Sahara as a state is recognized by EU, by UN, and by, I don't know.
International Court of Justice.
No,
correct?
no.
Yes.
International Court of Justice said that there is allegiance between Morocco and this region. And you should know the history of Morocco. The history of Morocco is very long. The state of Morocco was built or established in the 8th century. We have the first university in the world, built by a lady. Morocco was the first country to recognize the independence of the United States in 1777. It's a very big, very long history. And this region, and you should know that Morocco...
Okay, excuse me, we need to move on. Let us hear from our viewers who are also engaging on social media. Ali on Twitter says the conflict in Western Sahara can be ended and the suffering of the Sahrawi people ended with the implementation of the Security Council resolution and the UN. In other words, the right to self-determination of the Sahrawi people who can choose their future democratically. #LHIO. Thank you so much for your comments. And we continue with a few other points. You mentioned the welcoming back of Sahrawis who want to go back from the refugee camps which are based in Algeria. However, there is something called the berm, which I'd like to just quickly bring up. The berm was built between 1980 and 1987. There are 6 pieces. The berm is the second longest wall in the world, and it divides the Sahrawi people. It is also known as the longest continuous minefield in the world, with the largest deposit of landmines on either side of it. And it is manned by 120,000 Moroccan soldiers every single day. How do we allow people to come back if we have specifically divided them? It reminds me of the apartheid regime where we specifically went to divide people by creating barricades and demarcating land areas where they could or could not go.
You see, you said the white apartheid regime. You mentioned this. I have somebody who visited Dakhla last March to take part in the Trans-Montana Forum. When he came back, he told me that, unlike what he heard, that there is people are suffering, people are demonstrating, people are contesting, people are, and there is the military, there is blocks. He didn't notice any police blocks, any military presence, and everything was peaceful. Peace reigned, security was reigning. That means that within the Moroccan Sahara there is peace.
Is this in Western Sahara that you're referring to?
I'm not talking about Western Sahara, but Moroccan Sahara. Your Western Sahara exists in Algeria in the camps.
And I
told you before that there are two Saharas.
In the UN.
There is the real Sahara in Morocco and the other one in Algeria. When you talk about suffering, you're talking about the Sahrawi in Algeria.
No, I'm not.
No, that's one. Did you see them? Did you see Dakhla? Did you see Ayoun? No, you have been Dakhla in Algeria, not Dakhla in Morocco.
I can't. I welcome you to invite me to go to the Western Sahara, to the illegally occupied territory.
You see,
in the UN, there are documented ongoing human rights violations that are happening in the territory of Western Sahara.
Give me evidence. Just
there
because
is
keep
so much evidence.
Song, in the same tune, in the same words, as you are reciting something that's written to you.
There have been numerous UN resolutions calling for a referendum. Why has the referendum of Western Sahara
not participated? That's a good question. We did the census. The Union was there. The UN was there. We also was there to just between the two armies. Mm-hmm. But the problem is in Algeria, not in Morocco, because they refused the census in the refugee camps, detained camps.
The refugee camps, the consensus was done. There is an official report that released the total population within the camps.
How much?
So you can take a look at this after the program. It is just under 200,000, 176,300 people.
Unfortunately,
and this is a UN document.
I googled the province of Tindouf, including the refugees and detainees, are 150,000. All the population in Tindouf, it is a province, Algerian province, and the total population, as it is in Google, it's 150,000 people in this province, including the refugees.
So these are not the numbers in accordance to UNHCR.
No.
But we're going to
what is told by the Algerian and Polisario.
No, this is in accordance to the UN Refugee Agency. But we're going to go to an ad break. We take more of your questions and comments after this. We're back on. Let's have it out. Time for another caller, and now we have Mzwake from Johannesburg on the line. Hi, Mzwake. What is your question or your comment?
My comment is that from the beginning, the gentleman who is your guest started by arguing, telling you that I don't know what he did the previous Wednesday. This guy needs to be reminded that the winds of change are continuing to blow. He is another Google of some sort who represented the tyrant. This guy is not saying anything except the fact that he should bury his head in shame. And it should actually, it's disgusting to find a person who still represents the last colony in the African continent when Africa has got its own vision. So that guy doesn't deserve to be in that studio because, like Nazi criminals, they ended up all saying they were carrying out all that. They didn't know what was happening. Atrocities and human rights violations. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mzwake. Thank you so much. We're going to move on. And I want to go back to the question of the fact that we differ very strongly on the issue of Western Sahara. The United Nations says that Western Sahara is a non-self-governing territory under occupation. And this is straight from the United Nations. What is Morocco's position and why does it differ from that of the United Nations?
No, the definition doesn't say that it's under occupation. It's disputed territory. It says disputed territories between Polisario as a movement and not as a state, and between the government of Morocco. This is first thing. And the second thing, they've said the last colony in Africa. I think you ignore the history, you ignore the reality. The last colony is not Western Sahara. Western Sahara is Moroccan. It's Ceuta and Melilla, two cities of Morocco still under occupation of Spain. And tell those gentlemen who is speaking about the last colony in Africa. It's not this.
Morocco, the north of Morocco is still, some part of it, under the Spanish occupation. And you should know that Morocco, as I told you before, that Morocco is an old state. When we got the problem of the colonization, we colonized by three powers. Tangier, the region of Tangier, international powers, then French in the middle, Spain in the north and the south.
Mr. Najib, I don't want to look at Moroccan history. I'm sorry.
Because that's the problem. That's the issue.
No, we need to look at where we are now. And the issue, you talk about the practicality of where we're at with regards to a referendum. You also mentioned that you as a kingdom, Morocco has put autonomy on the table. Yes. How could you have put autonomy on the table when you say there is no such thing as Western Sahara? How do the two match up? So then why would you offer autonomy to a place or a country that you don't believe exists?
Who created Western Sahara? Excuse me. Who created Western Sahara? You see, there is a problem. When, unfortunately, there is a new state called Western Sahara, then there is like a necklace. When back, so there is Kabyle Republic in Algeria, Eastern Sahara in Algeria, there is Boko Haram in Nigeria, and there is Caprivi Street in Namibia, and so on and so forth. We are, in Morocco, we are trying to unite Africa, not disintegrate Africa.
But how?
Excuse me, because there is a problem for Algeria. Algeria is always there. You know that just in the last... the fourth committee of the 73rd Assembly General, the Algerians brought two separatists from Cameroon as Polisario. John Richardson then is there to debate the problem of Cameroon. You see, Algeria is always there, disintegrating the continent. We are trying to unite the continents. We always are. When we received Mandela between 1960 and 1962, we have this.
Okay, I'm sorry. I need to just move on. I want to understand. If there is no such thing as Western Sahara, why in 1991 did the UN call for a ceasefire, asking that a movement, an organization get set up called MINURSO that would be there as a mandated organization of the UN body to ensure that a referendum was called for within 6 months, ensuring that there was no longer...
No, it has nothing to do with referendum.
A referendum was the mandate of MINURSO.
No, it is just to separate the two camps, between the two camps.
The Security Council Resolution 690 of the 29th of April in 1991, in accordance to a settlement proposal that was given to Morocco and accepted by Morocco in 1988, between Morocco and the Frente Polisario, then moved forward to say that the MINURSO would monitor and would ensure that a referendum would take place within 6 months so that the Sahrawi people could get to choose what their future was. A referendum is certainly part of a democratic process, and why would Morocco not want that democratic process to then play out?
No, this is a lie. Not Morocco who refused. Morocco opened its doors. We received all the invoice from UN, from Europe. We don't close our doors. The problem is that in the camp in Algeria, nobody can go there.
That is not. I've been there and I've lived there. There are negotiations that are going to take place.
The point is that you are lobbying for, not for activists.
Not at all, Mr. Najib.
Why even talk about the African refugee, the African deported from Algeria towards Niger?
We're talking about the Western Sahara here. There are negotiations. We're going to have to close up the show, but there are negotiations that will take place in Geneva between the Polisario and Morocco.
Algeria and Mauritania.
The four people that are involved in this conflict, absolutely.
And the movement.
And it is important that we need to make sure that the issue of Western Sahara remains on the table. That's it for now. It's the end of this edition of Let's Have It Out. Thank you for joining us on the issue of Western Sahara and self-determination of these people. Remember to keep the conversation going on social media. Use the hashtag LHIO. And tomorrow night, activists Fasika Hassan will be in this chair, and you don't want to miss out on that conversation.